Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not welcome back to pick 10 80s 3. We are on the final stretch, the final movie in this review series. Took a break ski to do the My Rise, but we're here now. We're talking about Gremlins. Yes, from 1984, starring Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates, Hoyt Axton, Dick Miller, and Hilary Mantel is the voice of Gizmo. Also on the cast, Judge Reinhold and Corey Feldman, which we would talk about. But yes, this is a classic Christmas horror movie. It's a Christmas movie, shut up. The whole thing is Christmas. Everything is Christmas. Mr. Rand Pelter brings home Gizmo as a present for Billy for Christmas. It is a Christmas movie. There's snow everywhere. Christmas song plays at the beginning of this. It's a Christmas movie. And I reviewed this way back when in my first Christmas month. But, yeah, that was not the best time for me. I was lazy, thought I could just coast. But, I've learned better, right? So here we are. Gremlins, 1984. So we start in Chinatown with a man named Rand Peltzer, an inventor. He's played by Hoyt Axton, as I said, and he's an inventor. A running gag in this film is that Peltzer's inventions never work the way they're supposed to. There's always malfunction. There's a gag with a smokeless ashtray, and it doesn't work. There's like an orange juicer that goes haywire. Yeah. He's in Chinatown trying to pelt this, trying to sell what is essentially a Swiss Army knife of sorts. A whole bunch of things. It's like a toothbrush and a shaving kit or something. And of course it doesn't work. But he's trying to sell this to Mr. Wing, and then he sees what is called a mogwai. Yeah, and he wants to buy that because he thinks it'll be great for his son Billy. Which I don't know. Here's a question. How old is Billy supposed to be here? Is he still in high school? He's still living with his parents. Yet, Phoebe Cates, the character Kate, she works for a bar where they sell beer, so she has to have to be at least 21, right? He's 21 and still living in his parents' house. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but not that there's anything wrong with that. I just, I don't know. I moved out at 21, so yeah. But yes, but the Mr. Wing says no, it's not for sale. No. But Wing's nephew or grandson or whatever he is like, meet me in the back, and he sells him the mogwai, and he gives him 3 rules. Now we're going to talk about these rules. Keep him out of the light. Okay. Light bright. Don't put him in the light. No. Okay. Do not get them wet. Do not feed them after midnight. What do you mean by that? Because technically, all the time is after midnight. Right? Because technically, 11:59 p.m. is after midnight the previous day and before midnight the next day. So and how far after midnight can you, you can't feed them after midnight. But what if it's the next day, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon? That's still technically after midnight. I don't know. And they bring up in the sequel, what about international date lines or something? Daylight savings time. How does that work? Right? I don't know. It's a little bit tricky situation. What they could have done to make it easier instead of feeding them is that just getting wet. Do not get them wet. Getting them wet causes them to multiply and mutate into the gremlins. I don't know. But they needed a double... I don't know. But we see the Universal backlot, home to Back to the Future and this movie. And yes, you can tell it's the same set. It is the same set as Back to the Future. Clock Tower, clock tower's there, everything. Yeah, so we meet our main character Billy with his dog, whose name I do not remember, and we meet Elmira Gulch. Now it's Mrs. Deagle, played by Polly Holiday, who I was surprised to learn is still alive. She's telling everyone to kiss her grits as she's running down the street, and comes afoul of the dog. Again, she's essentially Elmira Gulch from Wizard of Oz, because she's going after Billy for his dog because the dog did something to her flowers or something. It's essentially Wizard of Oz. But Billy brings the dog into the bank and hides him behind the desk. That's not, no. Which caused him to run afoul of his boss and Gerald McBoing Boing over here. I'm going to call him that. I don't know his last name, but Gerald, played by Judge Reinhold. Phoebe, Kate is also there. She doesn't work at the bank. She works at the bar. But she's also there. I don't know, it's confusing. Gerald is like the bank manager, or he's just in a higher position than Billy, I guess. I don't know, but he's like, you better shape up, Peltzer, whatever. And then they have he kind of confronts him when they're at the bar. Again, they must be 21. They're at the bar. Now he told me he hits on Kate, and we never see him again. But we were supposed to. See, Gerald McBoing Boing over here was supposed to be the third lead in the film. There was even a scene during when all the Gremlin stuff was coming down that they were going to go to the bank, and he's hiding in the bank vault and won't let them in because he wants to be protected. But he's supposed to be in there. I don't know how he would have fit into the final act, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, after this, Billy goes home. Rand returns and presents him with a Mogwai, which he has named Gizmo, and he tells him the rules. No bright lights, no getting him wet, and no feeding him after midnight. That rule is still confuses me. Makes no sense. So, yeah. And then Rand kind of pisses off for the rest of the movie again. He's out doing his trip. He's on a business trip for most of the movie. He gives this to Billy, and then he's like, okay. And I think he's there for when they multiply, but yeah, he is. So, Billy's little friend, Pete, played by Corey Feldman. People kind of scrunch their nose at this. Why would he have a friend as a little kid? I'm assuming he's the neighbor kid, and their families are familiar, right? So, yeah, I'm assuming he's the neighbor kid, you know. We had neighbor kids that were younger than me. Not that younger. I think they were around my sister's age. And that's 5-year difference between them, you know. We used to hang out with them. Although I was with my siblings when we did that. Well, there was times when my siblings would go to me hanging out. But then we were neighbors. Our families knew each other, you know. And I'm not in the age difference that there is with Billy and Pete, you know. Like I said, there's a 5 to 6 year difference between us and nothing, you know. Same age as my sister. I mean, their family. But yeah. They even watched, I think their family even watched my brother once. I think. We had lunch over at their house one time. We went on picnics with their family. So yeah. But so anyway, while Pete is there, he accidentally knocks water on Gizmo, which causes him to multiply. And right away you could tell that these other Mogwais are a little more rambunctious. Right? And then no bright lights. And then so he takes one to the elementary school teacher. I guess he's Pete's teacher. But then again, much like with Gerald McBoing Boing, Pete disappears after a certain point. I don't know why. If I'm to guess, they only had Corey Feldman for a short amount of times, where he was also filming Friday the 13th, the final chapter. That's my guess. So, yeah. So then, yeah, the Mogwais are begging to eat, except for Gizmo, because he knows better. He knows better, which, in hindsight, doesn't really make much sense. But if we're supposed to believe that Gizmo is supposed to be the good one, I guess. But that also feeds into the fact that originally, in the original film, Gizmo, in the original draft of the script, I should say, Gizmo was going to be the one that turns it to the Gremlins instead of Stripe, and then he was going to multiply, and yeah, he was the leader, but they came up with Stripe because someone was like, well, no, I think it was Steven Spielberg was like, no, we need one good one, so yeah. So there's that. So because he's the good one, he doesn't eat when the others do, but they turn into the pupil form, which they're not insects, but okay, they turn the green slime stuff, egg pupil thing, cocoon type situation. I had to move that because I'm distracted by that. So does the one, because the teacher gives the one that's at the school that one too, and then this one breaks out and kills the teacher, and Billy shows up to warn the teacher, but it's too late because he's dead. So yeah, and the other ones are breaking out, but while he's gone, the other ones have broken out and are attacking Mrs. Peltzer, and she kicks their ass. She put one in the blender, she puts one in the microwave, they go. She kills them all except for Stripe, who gets away after destroying the Christmas tree. How dare you! Also, they hang the dog, but I don't think the dog dies. They just hang him, and they torture Gizmo too, throwing darts at him and shit. I think that's in this one, or is that a knife? I don't know. But Stripe gets away, and they end up chasing him to the municipal pool, where he falls in and creates a whole army of gremlins that go nuts on the town. Now it's to talk about a character named Mr. Futterman, played by Dick Miller. He and his wife are characters in this film. That Billy walks him home once when he's drunk. Mr. Futterman, not Billy. And and he's always complaining about all those gremlins in the gears. The gremlins everywhere. So now when this happened, they're called the Gremlins. They're causing problems. And during their little wreaking havoc on the town, they kill people. Supposedly, the Futtermans were supposed to be killed, but in the end, they decided they liked the character so much they wrote in a line, kind of like in the G.I. Joe movie. Hey, Duke's still alive! Oh, the Futtermans are still kicking, and I don't know what that was, but yeah. But poor Mrs. Deagle is not as fortunate, as she gets flung out the goddamn window. She has one of those seats you put on the banister and it right up. She's one of those, and they turn it up to 11, I guess, and they fling her out the window. I'm assuming she's dead. I don't think she survives that, but they would do Gremlins 3, Paul. They still kicking. She'll show up. Those things thought they got me, but they can kiss my grits. I don't know. But, yeah. But the Gremlins, they go to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The good one. Not the woke one. The good one. The one that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is this is a Disney movie. This is not a Disney. Snow White is a Disney movie, but this is a Warner Brothers movie. We haven't seen Warner Brothers and Disney commingle since Roger Rabbit, which hadn't happened yet, actually. Roger Rabbit was 89, I think, 88, 89. So, no. So, I don't know, but apparently the relationship, I also want to point out one time, Billy is doing drawings at the bar before Gerald McBoing Boing comes in. And he's talking to some older gentleman who's criticizing him on his animation, his drawings. That is the late, great Chuck Jones, who did a bunch of Looney Tunes shorts back in the day. Some of my favorites. He also did a Tom and Jerry shorts as well. Some of my favorites there, too. I love his animation style. The bright, colorful ones that, very well done. You'll say Chuck Jones, yeah, he's in there. Billy goes to rescue Kate from the bar I do like the one were like, so this is a bit confusing because like she's trying to light the cigarette that the gremlin has in his mouth, but it's a bright light. So, but there's other gremlins that are smoking. How do those light? It's a fun gag, but eventually she's saved by Billy and they get out of there, and they all go to see Snow White. So he blows up the movie theater, killing all the gremlins that are in there except for Stripe, who survived and was across the street eating candy because he's a glutton, I guess. He's not even that fat though. No. But yeah. So Kate is now gone from this climax. I don't know where she went, but now it's just left to Billy and Gizmo, who go to save the day at a department store where there's for some reason a giant fountain. I don't know 80s department stores. I don't know, but they get there and he's about to fling himself in there. But then Gizmo opens up he crashes in the car and he opens up the window, which brings light in. Now, those of us who would nitpick would say, well, technically he's got his hand on the thing and it's getting wet. Yeah, I have a bigger nitpick later. So he gets zapped by the light, completely fried, turned to a skeleton, and the skeleton falls in the water. Now, this would work. This would multiply. He falls in the water, starts bubbling, but it doesn't do anything because it's in the sunlight. But I've always thought that, yeah, it definitely should have multiplied because it pops back out to show you that it's still alive. So, yeah, it probably should have multiplied, but it doesn't because this is the end of the movie now. And yeah, Kate has magically disappeared from the rest of this movie too. Wow, they really did not know how to write characters. I could see maybe Joe McBoing Boing was he was written out, and I could concede that Corey Feldman had to do Friday the 13th stuff. What is Phoebe Cates doing in 1984? Why is Kate missing from that part? Like, she's with them, and then, you know, she tells the story of when her dad died, pretending to be Santa Claus. He come down the chimney, he broke his neck. And then they blow up the theater and she's gone. Where did she go? But, where did she go? I do not know. But where did she go? I tell you, I do not know. But, I don't know. Maybe I missed something. But we wrap up at the Peltzer house because during the climax, Rand Peltzer randomly shows up at a department store to see Stripe get killed. Why he shows up there, I have no idea. He spends most of this movie trying to get back. But I don't know. Everyone's safe and sound back at home. They're watching the TV. And Mr. Wings shows up just in the house. Doesn't knock. Just let himself in. We don't even hear the door. Can he teleport? Hello. No, is it? I don't know. And he's more upset about the fact that they let Gizmo watch TV than it is that a whole bunch of gremlins got loose. But he's going to take Gizmo away. 40 years later, 38 for me. Maybe I watched this in the 90s, so about 30 years later. I still don't understand why Mr. Wing has to show up and take him away. Yes, he gives an explanation. Oh, you people are not ready for Mogwai. Okay, but these people, especially like these people in this room right here, they've learned their lesson. They do know better. But I can concede that yes, I don't know, maybe you keep that thing in a box or something, in a bubble where it can't get out. I don't know. It's very dangerous because the multiplying thing was an accident. Pete dropped water on him, and then yeah. So I do have one complaint to talk about after, but we'll get to it. So he's like, no, I'm taking him away, and he's like, oh, he wants to talk to you, and you get that, but and then we watch them walk away into a matte painting as Christmas music plays. So here's my complaint. I should have said this earlier. So when Gizmo's hit with water, he multiplies. Every single one of those other ones that he multiplied from him are inherently evil. That's a cop-out. That is, we need a way to make it so, because like they have to, they're like an ex machina in this case, where it's like, oh, the other ones beside Gizmo have to be evil so that they can scheme and chew Billy's the cord on his alarm clock so he doesn't see that the time changed. Even though clocks in movies always seem to stop at the previous time before they broke down. That's not how it works. They chew through the cord. It wouldn't be on. You know? It wouldn't stop at the previous time. A regular clock would. But, like, this is a digital clock. It doesn't do that. So, like, yeah, so they have to be evil so they could chew that and trick Billy into feeding them. Although, the one that's with the teacher is kind of conspicuous. He just feeds them anyway. Or, no, he breaks out and gets a sandwich, doesn't he? I don't know. He takes a sandwich or something. You think, or did the teacher not know the rules? What are the rules? You know the rules, right? The rules. You don't know the rules. Rule number 1. You can never have sex. The big no-no. Big no-no. Rule number 2. You cannot drink or do drugs. And rule number 3. In no circumstances can you say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be right back. Wait, that's the wrong rules. Why didn't nobody stop me before number 3? Anyway, I should have done that as a gag earlier. 3 important things. 1, you can never have... No, those are the wrong rules. Yeah, it just seems like we have to write them to be evil so that the plot can move forward. Because, like, I don't know. My biggest question is, where did Gizmo come from then? Because you could assume, oh, Gizmo came from a multiplication. Like, another Mugwai got hit, he popped out. But if he's evil, if he's good, I mean, then where did it come from? If all the ones that are, if every single time, and we're showing that in this one and the second one, every single time Gizmo multiplies are always evil, where did he come from? You know? Well, the chicken and the egg, which came first? Oh, the chicken. Wait. Or was the egg? Wait. Huh? That is one of life's mysteries that will never be solved. Oh, the chicken came first. No, wait. It has to come from an egg. Wait. What? It's a conundrum, that's for sure. But when it comes to Gremlins, you know the truth. I'm not going to go back there and get a bit. Gremlins can go to the moon. Iron Pit. To the moon. It's Gremlins. This was always going to be the best, which is why I was glad it was saved for last, because all these... I'm going to do a ranking, although number 1 is pretty much split. But all the other ones, where they rank, we'll see. So what are your thoughts on Gremlins? And when it comes to, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scott, and I'll see you in the next one.